Okay, let's call this meeting to order. I'd like to call to order the March 2nd, 2023 meeting of the Historic District Commission. And if we could, by starting with roll call, please.
Leo. Canarza,
Here.
Donahue,
Here.
Lewis,
Here.
Penoza,
Here.
Patterson.
Here.
And
And
chair.
Oh, I'm
Strikers.
sorry, I always forget you.
That's okay.
Straker.
No worries. Strikers here. We have a quorum. Are there any agenda changes, additions, or deletions tonight?
None for me,
All set?
Mr. Chair.
Okay. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes from our meeting held on February 2nd? And if so, would anyone like to make a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the January 5th.
I second.
Thank you. Second, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes, opposed? Okay. Are there any public comments on any agenda items from either our Zoomers or our attendees? Okay. No unfinished business, so we will move right to new business. And the first application is 127 Hoffman, which is pertaining to plexiglass walls. Welcome. Welcome. Have you guys been to a commission meeting before?
Not here.
Not here. Okay. So I'll just mention how this works, just so everyone's aware of how our meetings go. So we'll give a little brief overview, and anything we don't hit in our overview or that's in your application, feel free to add to in any sort of opening statement. What I'll do then is I'll ask the commissioners we'll go around the table one by one. Weird.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
There we go. Sorry.
Thank you. We'll go around the table one by one, and I'll just ask each commissioner if they have any other questions. So they may ask questions for clarity, they may suggest things, and then we'll basically call for a vote after that. Okay? All right. So this application is for plexiglass panels. Just in case commissioners weren't aware, it's in our agenda packet, but this came up on October of 2020. It was an application for the installation of retractable awnings and plexiglass below the railing. So this is a retroactive application for the plexiglass that appeared above the railing. So that's what we're discussing today. Is there anything you want to add to your application?
No, not really.
You could come to the podium.
All right, I should have said that.
Yep.
Yeah, my fault. I didn't say that. Just so we can hear on the recording.
Yeah. Nothing to add to it. I mean, it's a temporary solution for winter, cold, wind, pretty much. The only difference between now and before was just the way that's really attached to the handrail. Before we had zip ties attaching the frame to the handrail. Now I got, let's say like they're anchored to it, just bolted through the metal. And then, through bolts, just need to take them loose and take it down like we had before originally. But we might need to leave 4 posts up front for support for those awnings, like they on the roll out. So
Okay,
that's pretty much.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for the overview. We'll go around the table, start this way this time and start the other way the next time. Garin, do you have any questions?
No, I'm very familiar with this. I remember when it came up before. I think the only, and this is just a general question, the only difference now is the wood posts. Is that correct?
The wood structure and the fact that it goes up and almost
Right,
meets
so
the
that's
awnings.
the addition.
That is,
Right. And so my question, I guess, and it might come up just under general discussion, is if that's a temporary, is that still a problem? These are the questions I had, and I was in Uncommon this morning and took a look. So that's my question. Does it matter if it's a temporary? And is it just that it wasn't approved? So these are my
Yeah.
general questions.
so I'll jump in just with a perspective on that as we continue to go around the
Okay.
table, which is one of the things that concerns me about this, about it being temporary and needing to be approved, is that its final look feels structural. which is very similar to other awning conversations that have happened in the past,
Mhm.
where there's been a debate on temporary versus the feeling of architectural.
Got it. Yeah.
So I think there's a consistency conversation that is really important that we think through
Okay.
in terms of how that ends up being the appearance of structural, even though it is temporary.
Okay. All right. Those are my observations.
Just a clarifying question. When we approved this awning, did we also approve a half wall of plexiglass? Because it wasn't written in this. I recall it, but I don't recall that we approved anything relative to a plexiglass.
My recollection, but I, maybe you, anyone else who was here, is that it was plexiglass against
Yeah.
the railings. There
Yes.
wasn't a structure.
Okay,
That's what I.
okay, so it's just a add-on.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
And then another one for clarification. You said in the application that you kind of indicated that part of the reason you did it was structural. Yeah, to support the awning. Do you have anything that says that that's required to support that awning? Because I'm real familiar with that type of awning that goes out, goes in, and I rarely see any that are supported.
I mean, I need work to go for.
Can you run back up to
Yeah,
that, just so we
sorry
can hear
about
you?
that. I should have
Thank
had
you.
you come up, sorry.
So, I actually worked with those before
Mhm.
in construction, like for 10 years. I mean, we kind of see them, take them down, put them up. And those arms are not supposed to be just floating there. I mean, they're 10 by 10.
Mhm.
So it's just pretty heavy. I mean, they will be at least a 3-foot drop just by its weight if you don't have anything holding
So,
there.
so is it required for structural stability?
I mean, more like a liability than anything else. I mean, it can fall off, right?
Is it required for structural stability?
If it's required.
Yeah.
I mean, it just can't be there without. I mean, it won't stay.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay.
It is.
The only thing I'd say is from a streetscape perspective, it doesn't really fit well with the entire, I know that street's kind of a little bit, there's some different structures there, but it doesn't look consistent with what we're trying to achieve on a streetscape in a historic district. And I could probably cite one. Bodie's came through with the same kind of a thing. And if you look at the Bodie's execution, it looks intentional, it looks temporary, and it is a nice looking add-on instead of, plexiglass 2x4s and.
I mean, is there any
4x4.
suggestions that we can bring over, like instead of the Paxton?
Yeah, of course, but I'm just saying, if I was to cite something that
Mhm.
has a better streetscape appearance, it would be Bodie's for starts, that someone who came in and applied for something for a winter protection or during the COVID issues.
But it's
So-
not even like a time frame, right? Like we have the street seatings for a few months out and we be a structure
Yeah, I
like that
can't-
for.
We're not here to
months.
comment on time frame.
Yeah, I
And-
think I would go back to the original intent of the previous application, which was never to create a room. It was simply to break some wind, with having plexiglass on the bottom of the railing and to have some protection for an awning. It was never intended to be a fully enclosed thing. So that's where it's probably different than Bodie's as an example. Bodie's is, we have approved several times isinglass and canvas in winter months to extend the season, but that's where the structure is already there to support it, not creating almost another 3-season room, which is almost what happens when you build a structure that the awning sits on. Just to clarify, I think what you're asking.
Yeah.
It's almost like what it was intended or desired to do when it was approved the first time versus what it's doing now.
I mean, but how, what a half size plexiglass would do, I mean, I just don't get the point. I mean, why would you put it halfway to the handrail? I mean,
I can't answer that other than the previous applicant
Mm.
just, I believe in my memory, wanted there to be a slight windbreak.
Yeah.
Did not want it to do any more than, it didn't want to do anything up here. They were just asking to, protect someone's knees or when they're sitting down so they could sit down and have a cup of coffee with a little bit of a break from the wind. And mist or weather, but the awnings were never intended for wintertime,
Mhm.
for being out and carrying snow. And the plexiglass was never meant to be a virtual wall.
Well, I mean, I can see the outside, outdoor patio seating being more thing now than it was before due to, COVID. And I thought that was one of the reasons why Guy actually request that plexiglass was because of that. So, I know.
I
think
can't
that's-
speak for his why, but.
No, I mean,
Sorry,
but the regulations on the city.
Yeah.
And what it can be done, what material, I mean, how can we possibly replace the glass like that, if anything even cheaper or not as noticeable? I mean, I just can't imagine that. I mean,
Let's continue around the table. I kind of jumped in, sorry.
I really don't have any questions. I think it's pretty self-explanatory here.
But my comment is, I think Bodie's has is it the canvas with isinglass that you use on the boat, so I'd agree, and. The other thing is, could you accomplish some of the same things? Are we set in how high that railing could be? Like if it went up another foot, is that part of the? Standards that you have that same height of railing?
Well, a railing alteration would be a separate application, a
Okay.
completely different thing. Yeah,
I asked that just because I wondered if you could accomplish a little bit more of the windbreaks by bringing it up just a little bit, but still be aesthetically look better, so. That's all I have.
okay. John?
My only comment is, as simple as it is, it feels like it's a room under construction to me. It has all the makings of what a screen porch or a sunroom would look like if you added one onto a home, except no roof, and no door. So I'm not sure if it's within the streetscape or the guidelines. I'm trying to figure out the guideline. It doesn't fit into what we have written here about that, but
Well, I think.
it does feel like a structure to me. I guess that's bottom line. Feels like a structure.
So so I'm gonna back up a little bit. So my recollections of this, all of this started when we went into COVID. And basically the inside of Uncommon was shut down. And at that time, my recollection was that Guy was looking for an ability to have the outdoor seating, but not totally enclosed, because that, even at that time, was not allowed, a total enclosure. The awnings with the heaters, and then half up plexiglass to just kind of help with the wind. At that time in 2020, it was never intended as a fully enclosed structure, which is where you've arrived at now. And so that's the issue, as I understand it.
Yes,
So we've moved from partial enclosement and just a wind block to now a full enclosure, so that you understand. So that's why this has come as an issue, because now you're looking at a fully enclosed room. And that was not the original intent when that was allowed during COVID. So you're now looking for direction as far as what you can do. Is that right?
pretty much, I mean, because, it's not a structure. I mean, you just kind of have to walk in and see there's nothing really but a frame that's holding the glass together. I mean, other than that, I can take the wood out and put zip ties and put it together, but that would be flying away with the first storm, which is not a structural thing, it's just a well done thing, because I went through 40-mile wind, a few weeks ago, and it's there, right? So it's not a structure, it's not gonna be a room, right?
So
But
can you bring those awnings in every night?
they are in every night. I mean,
Okay, just
I
asking.
guess
Yeah.
some nights, I guess they're out. I mean, whenever there's not a single storm or nothing happening, usually they go through the night, because if somebody leaves at 7, somebody gets in at 3 a.m. So it's a very
Sure.
short window time for.
I
that,
asked simply because we have an awning at our house
Mhm.
and we never leave it out because we know what that west wind.
Oh, yeah, no, I
rips it
actually-
Right off there.
yeah, I'm actually in charge of that part myself, so I rolled out and in, really, so
Okay,
it's totally manageable. I mean, it's just more like an everyday thing or not, or at least the weather. So,
Okay. So from a, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sorry.
No, I mean, from a temporary perspective, if you really meant it to be temporary, you wouldn't need those wood items there. You wouldn't need the things that you've put into
Oh, no.
place.
the only thing I would need, which with guy had before was they had 4 sticks holding 2 on each side, holding the one when they're open, which rests on the fence, I mean, the handrail, but it would easily get tripped by somebody. I mean, if somebody knocked the sticks out and fall off. I mean, my suggestion would be to keep 4 of those, just the posts, not the frame. So it, it will hold the awning once it's open. That'll be my request. Otherwise, I mean, just the sticks as they had before, but
I would only, I guess, add to the conversation that this is a contributing structure.
Mhm.
So what that means in historic district guidelines language is there's contributing and non-contributing, and contributing means it adds significance to the streetscape because it's over 50 years old and is classified as, having all the character that's important for the district.
Mhm.
So that weighs on the appearance of something that feels structural, that's different than what was approved before for me. I know what you're trying to accomplish. I can't get behind anything beyond what was approved before myself. And I also can't get behind anything that supports those awnings and makes them more structural when they're out, because that was not what was approved. So if those awnings were to come out with some sort of post, that's not what we approved before. There's such a precedence in this town about making sure that awnings don't feel structural, especially to a contributing structure, that I really feel like we need to be consistent with that.
so in other words, if I buy, take that down, get a whole brand new awning that can open by itself, it can be as long as we want.
Yeah, you would have to
Okay.
apply, come
Brand new.
back, and if you have a new awning, come back, and we have guidelines around awnings that can help you through that process to make sure you're going to purchase the right thing that is functional but not structural.
So the awnings cannot be support, cannot have posts, right?
It cannot have
But it
posts.
can have something hold from the top, right?
So the
because-
way this awning looks when it's out
Mhm.
is correct. So fabric awnings that have some sort of mechanism that either roll out
Mhm.
or fold out are generally approved in districts.
Okay,
I think there's an awning replacement at 428 Butler Street, a bed and breakfast down
Uh-huh.
on Butler Street that has the proper kind of awnings. And you can see a couple, I think maybe right down around Jeff Blandford's studio, you can see the rollout kind.
Okay.
But fabric that are retractable are usually within the range of what.
so
is
if I can
approved.
get, because I mean, I just don't really trust them that much, right? But if you can get a manufacturing information from that awning saying that can stay by itself and bring over, then we're cool. I mean, I can
Yes, just
keep
bring
going.
a tear sheet, like a brochure from the manufacturer
Okay.
on what you're applying for.
I mean, yeah, hopefully, it could be, right? I just don't really trust them
Yeah.
that much myself, but if, warranty says they are, then would not have anything supporting them once we take everything down. But is it still okay to keep that through the winter and then take everything down at that point?
Are you talking about the awning or are you
Mhm.
talking
No,
about the plexi?
the whole thing, glass.
I can't get behind leaving it at all,
Because,
because it looks
It's
like
not
a
approved.
structure on a contributing structure. And it's not what we approved. And I appreciate your challenge of what you're trying to do for the remainder of the season. But I hope you appreciate our desire to
course.
apply the same rule to everyone, and that's
course.
what we're trying to do.
no, yeah, I'm just trying to find ways that we can also comply with what we have on hands.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I mean,
understand.
there's just so much that can be done considering the situation, the space we have, so.
I understand.
Okay.
Does anyone else have comments?
You know, I think it's tricky because I hear what we're saying and it looks like a structure, looks like it's more permanent than temporary. But I think in a way, that's kind of a good thing. It could be a good thing at times because I would not want to see something that looks shabby, right? As a temporary structure. And so if it looks permanent, but it really is temporary, I almost see that as a,
If it looks permanent, it's an addition and you would apply for it to be an addition to a contributing structure. If it is temporary, there would never be, we just never would allow that. We just,
temporary.
we just don't. I mean, COVID times were probably different, but generally in historic districts, we would never. And that's, I think, the awnings conversations that we've had in the past have been precisely around that point of the difference between temporary and permanent and the appearance of permanent, especially on an important structure.
I see.
So
For
I mean,
the awnings or for the glass?
both,
Both.
anything that smacks of enclosure. Like, I mean, I could make the argument that I don't have to squint very hard to, this almost looks like a 3-season room
Mhm.
that somebody would have built, which would be more permanent, but would even be more in violation to guidelines.
Exactly, right.
So I don't know that there is an in-between here. It's either you build an addition and get approval for that, or you don't do anything, but you have an awning that's retractable, that's not part of the structure.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, because I just don't know now. I mean, so we take the awning, then we're okay with the glass or,
Mm.
you know,
I don't think there's any situation where we're okay with the glass or the frames.
As long as it's above the railing, right?
Even if, even adding frames, which there would be no reason to below the railing. What we approved was just like plexi put into
Against
the
the
railings. Yeah.
And that was a COVID.
That was a
related.
COVID thing.
okay.
Did anyone like to make a motion?
So
And I think we can make a motion in the affirmative. And if it is denied. Like, you could say, motion to approve. The application as submitted.
Doesn't that say you're approving? what you want?
Because we vote on it.
We vote on.
Oh, okay.
and then okay.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve plexiglass wall application for 127 Hoffman Street.
We have a second?
Second.
Is there any more discussion?
What sort of authority do we have to say remove what was put up?
Well, by denying this, it would
Mhm.
be removal
Do you need
immediately.
to say that, or is that implied?
Yeah, so the ordinance indicates that if this kind of came to you under a deviation from an approved plan. And so the ordinance states that the desired changes are not approved, the owner shall dismantle the unapproved work and proceed with the work as originally approved.
Mhm.
So it would just kind of fall back to, the ordinance. Typically, my experience with, I understand typically trying to make a motion in the affirmative.
Mhm.
But typically, if you make a motion and it fails, it's not necessarily a decision. Your decision would be based on the
Sure.
affirmative of the yes votes. So if the motion is to deny and there's yeses, enough yeses, then that would be the actual decision that's
Okay,
final.
that's good, counsel.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks.
So
So do we want to restate the motion?
could withdraw the
Can we do that?
motion and then make another,
So we'll withdraw that motion and
whoever made, was it that made the motion?
John
made the motion. So
So John, you withdraw your,
Yeah,
Okay.
I withdraw mine.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say
Yeah,
that.
I'll do it.
Okay, you do. it.
Yeah, motion, I move to deny the application as submitted.
do you have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion?
Who was second? I'm sorry. Oh, thank you.
All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Okay. So. Thank you for working with us on that. And if you think about something you want to do in the future with the awnings, we'd be more than happy to work with you and prior to an application to let you know what needs to happen for that and what would be approved.
For this one, if I get manual or something that can prove that it's okay, without supporting, then we're fine.
For the awnings, right?
Then next class.
Yeah,
Yeah, it has to come down.
yeah. I think if you return it to the original intent of the application in 2020, then you'll be fine.
You'll be good.
I won't speak for Rice.
Yes, that's exactly
Is
right.
that right?
Okay, thank
Right.
you.
Anything that
You don't have to, no, you're all set. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, the second item is 890 Simonson, which is a demolition and the building of a new home.
And the applicant's on Zoom, Mr. Chair, Mr. Sullivan.
Hey, Mr. Sullivan, how are you? Welcome back. He's unmuting himself. Oh, boy. There you go.
You go.
Thank you. First of all, I apologize for not being able to appear live for a presentation this evening. Unfortunately, we had scheduled a family vacation a while ago. So here I am, a few time zones away, but looking forward to having a discussion tonight. A little bit of history. We submitted a plan for a home on the site to the Historic Commission in July of 21. Those of you who may have been on the commission at that time may remember. It was reviewed and approved, I thought pretty positively. That was an issue for me in the initial purchase of the property, knowing that it was in an historic district and that I intended to design a modern house. The feedback I got was that it was consistent with the both the streetscape, the scale, and sort of the spirit of the commission or of the historic district. Anyway, I realize that permit has lapsed. We did not build the home at that time, given the, well, frankly, craziness of the marketplace. But we got to a point last fall where we decided to give it another try. Obviously, a resubmittal is required, and I'd be happy to discuss anything that you guys would like to this evening.
Thank you. Appreciate that. The only thing I would say before we kick it around the table is reading the, what do we call our partner who helps us with
Our planning
our
consultant.
planning
yeah.
consultant? Thank
Yeah.
you. Having trouble with words
Yep.
tonight. One thing that I think they make a comment about at the end of the sections pertaining to guidelines is the use of modern, which I think is inconsistent with the way we've treated modern in this district. So we have traditionally always looked at scale, mass, and materiality. We've never shied away from modern if it contains those things and it has a relationship with the streetscape. So that's just a little inconsistent. His comments, it's a him. Yeah, we're just a little inconsistent. And I just wanted to call that out.
Okay.
Not good or bad, just for consideration as we start making comments around the table. John, we'll start with you on this end.
I still feel that it's compatible with the streetscape and the massing and everything that we talked about last time. I don't think any changes have been made, right? Any major changes to the size?
He's muted.
You're muted.
Muted.
Oh, sorry.
You're muted.
Actually, it's a little smaller. I actually
Smaller.
replanned it to have a slightly smaller footprint.
Okay.
But the appearance is substantially the same.
Yeah, seems really good. I don't have any other questions or comments right now.
Well,
Actually, I didn't know where this was, so I drove yesterday and saw it, so I'd agree it's a little bit of everything back there. And I finally found it where it was, so that's the only, I just wanted to see where it fit in with some of the other, I would say more classic, more contemporary, but architecturally similar to some of the older buildings, but that's all I am.
No, I'm still good with it.
Okay. Keith?
The only question is, there's a garage on the property. Are we, do we need to say it's okay to demolish that building?
That's part of his request.
Part of it?
Yep.
Okay, all right.
It was last.
It's baked in here.
Yeah. it
Yeah,
is.
did we have a conceptual review last time or was that,
We had a.
I think it was too. I don't think it was like a full application, right? Okay,
That's all I had.
okay, great. Karen?
I thought I was losing my mind because I was like, didn't we already review this? So I went back there, I'm like, sure enough, we reviewed this. And I've been involved too long because I couldn't remember if it was planning or historic and when it happened. So thanks for clarifying that this was an application that lapsed. Was fine with it at that time, and I'm fine with it now. So.
Great. My only question, so you have material samples everywhere in here. Do we have cut sheets for windows and doors?
We do not at this moment. Those are kind of being processed right now, frankly, on the hope that this goes well. But I should have something. It's the Pella the Pella Reserve architectural product. So a pretty narrow profile for all of the window frames. And all of the product is being supplied by them. But I can certainly provide those cut sheets.
And that's aluminum clad or metal?
It's aluminum clad, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, it says it here.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think it's important that whatever we approve tonight, there's a provision in the motion to have staff approval of those cut sheets for windows, doors, and that includes the garage door. And just a reminder, I can't tell the detail. Obviously, I mean, your architect would probably chuckle right now, or you're the architect, sorry. I knew that right when it's come out of my mouth, but like not that you're.
I can chuckle on command.
Okay, good. Not that you're gonna put like a raised panel clopay stamped wood door on this, but that's why we would want to have a cut sheet to know that that is flat as represented, that any of the wood surfaces, if they're LP wood or some engineered wood, is not stamped. I know, I'm saying it because the builder has sometimes not distinguished that. So just making sure you're aware of all of those things in guidelines, like there's no windows that would be snap in, or I mean, I can tell by all of that, but that's why we just want to make sure with cut sheets that we're all on the same page.
Yeah, without question, we are on the same page.
Is there anything like that that I missed from your perspective, just builder architect wise?
Just that there have been inadvertent miscommunications about this, if this is Hardy cement board or whatever what brand is, there is a stamped wood grain side and the flat side. And sometimes the wood grain side will appear, even though we've tried to make it clear that it needs to be the flat side. Especially on a modern home, I think you'd want that. I don't think you want a wood grain appearance on it, but we won't approve that in the district.
Right, I actually requested Hardy color samples with the smooth product, and I got the wood grain product. So I have the color, but not the texture of the panel that we're going to install. So I understand the challenge, but we will definitely have a smooth face product in the construction. And I'll get samples of those and bring them in.
Thank you. We always feel strongly about that because we've had cases where it's had to be replaced. And we've had cases where the builder doesn't pay close enough attention. So as long as that's clear, that'd be great. I don't
Yeah,
have,
the advantage here is that the owner and the architect are the same person. So I'll be on that.
awesome. Anybody else have questions or comments? Anyone like to make a motion
Motion to approve
as submitted?
as submitted, sorry.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I would only add to the motion that cut sheets for windows, doors, garage doors and
Exciting.
and siding be submitted for staff approval prior to final approval. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? All right, good. You're set. You're good to go.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, all.
Thanks for what you're doing to improve that. It's going to be a great piece of property.
Well, we're looking to actually make it happen this time. Thanks again.
Thanks. All right, we will go to 133 Main Street, which is a siding replacement. Hello.
Hello, my name is Tim Tolson, and I'm representing Steve Birnbaum, who is the owner of the property. And what I'd like to do is give you a quick overview
Sure.
of what our plan is, so you can have a pretty good understanding of what we would like to do. I am generational Saugatuck Douglas area, even though I'm from Texas. But my family is Wicks, so you know our name around here a little bit. So anyway, being passionate about older homes and older structures, Steve asked me to become involved with this project and help him because he's a couple thousand miles away over there.
I'm on Zoom, but I'm a couple thousand.
Right.
Yeah. So, so the current structure is a combination of the original siding, some siding replacement done circa 1960s, and some siding replacement done circa post 90. Front of the house is currently done in T111, 4x8 sheets of siding. I guess it'd be the west side is done in a composite material that has during the 60s that has basically deteriorated. And the rest of the house is still done in the original siding, which is in poor condition overall. So our proposal is to re-side the house with as close a product to the original as we can get. We want to restore all the freeze boards to the original structure, which have been taken away during upgrades that were probably never approved or probably went through anyone's fingers. So all the gables and underneath the soffits, we would restore the original freeze board. If you look at the front of the house, the original freeze board is there. So that's what we're talking about, is that band of wood that wraps around the entire structure. We did find that the soffits and the fascia are structurally sound. So we would just do minimal replacement of wood and paint those so we can keep the original soffit and fascia structure. So what we would like to do, the original siding to the house is about 6-inch lap siding with about a 4.5-inch reveal. To go back with wood would not be cost effective. We would be upwards of $60,000+. So what we're proposing is to go back with, and I brought a sample so you could see the color and the material. And this is a James Hardie iron gray. And this is actually 7 1/4, but it'll have a 6-inch reveal. So the reveal will be as close to the original reveal as we can get. So we will restore what's the band boards, and we will restore the belt along the bottom of the house that would have been there originally. The only slight change from the original proposal is we would like to remove the proposal for the board and batten on the gables, because the house did not originally have board and batten. It had lap siding all the way around. And quite frankly, it's such a small space to get board and batten into. It's not worth doing. So we would remove all of the old siding and sheathe and house wrap everything for energy efficiency, and then come back with the James Hardy siding. My installer, his name is Ryan Millwood. He is James Hardy certified. And with a James Hardy certified installer, once everything is caulked and sealed in, we have a 50-year warranty on the product. So we feel like it's a good match. We feel like it will restore the house to its original look. It would certainly from the street have a much greater appeal than it currently does. As some of you may know, the history of the house, when it was an art studio and a surf shop and things of that nature, and then it was full of cats. And so the interior has come a long way, and we'd like to bring the exterior as far. So that the color palette would be the iron gray on the exterior, and we'd be trimmed in Arctic white. We would like to see all the window frames in 1x6, which would be as close to original as possible. And again, the frieze boards would be, I believe, 1x10. And the banding of the house would be 1x8. So very clean, crisp look, and very structurally sound, and really bring the house back to its former glory, if for lack of better words.
Great. Thanks for the overview.
Sure.
We'll start in the middle this time. Keith, I'll start with you.
You heard the smooth siding,
I did.
so smooth siding is fine.
Okay.
Grain is not.
Grain, okay. Grain is not, okay.
And
That won't be a problem.
And this is the only this is only an application for siding, is that correct?
That's correct.
I hate to, well, no, I don't hate to say it, but you have shutters. I just wondered if you've had any discussions about shutters, windows, doors, and all the other things.
The shutters were not original to the structure, so they'd be removed.
Okay, so the shutters are gonna be gone.
Correct. And the windows would be framed in the 1x6 white.
Okay, so you're gonna use existing windows and doors.
Yes.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Dan?
No questions.
Questions? John?
The trim would also be smooth, right?
Correct.
Okay, do you have any photos of the house? Do we have any? Does the historic?
There were some in the application.
Yeah, there's some in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I'm sorry.
Talking about like-
Original. I meant
Oh, the
older-
original.
Older one.
No, unfortunately, no. We can only glean from what we can see on the rear of the house, which is the original siding.
Okay.
And we know that it was lap siding, and we know that the frieze boards were intact at one time. So we want to just bring it back to its original.
It's a band that goes around.
And it's also on the gables. Yeah, the gables.
Can I ask about, the reason I asked about the older photos is I don't think are you proposing to wrap the current porch structure with the?
No, that'll be painted.
That'll be
simply
painted,
paint
but
that
in the
white.
same style?
Exactly.
Yep. Karen?
No questions.
And I think the only thing I would add, you get the theme of non-stamped plain everywhere on everything, trim, siding everywhere, ceiling, soffits,
Understood.
no fake trim. I'm only saying this for the record, not necessarily for you, but so we all hear it. Contributing structure. Sometimes like what I love that you're doing is you're making order out structure. Sometimes the chaos is contributing. I don't think it is in this case.
No.
I think you're dramatically improving it. I'm only saying that because we will get an application that will need to manage like the uniqueness of chaos. So not for you, for us. So
Completely understand.
that's all I have. Anyone like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the application as submitted for 133 Main siding replacement.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Okay.
Karen, any discussion? I would just add for the application that every surface and material is non-stamped. Any more discussion?
It does say smooth in there. The picture.
All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes, opposed? Awesome. Thank you for investing in this great little property.
Thanks.
you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Our last application is 333 Culver, which is Windjammer condominium, and that's window and door replacement. So putting on the record that several commissioners, we already have done this one time in terms of the approval of the siding that came before the commission about 6 months ago. John Canarsa, myself, are owners of 333. Keith is a resident of Windjammer in a different unit, not part of this application. Keith and I are also board members of Windjammer. So just putting that out there. Do you have anything you want to add to our process of how we do this?
Yeah, just to, to note that in this situation, if all three members were to have a conflict, we wouldn't have enough members to have a quorum to actually vote and make a decision on this particular application. So there's a rule of necessity that states that, okay, well, you need enough board members here to actually make a decision. And so if the board members disclose their conflict and also disclose, which each of you probably should do, that you'll act without bias, that you'll be reviewing this in the same manner you would review any application and not being giving any more favorable treatment towards this application, then you'd be allowed to vote because of the rule of necessity in this case.
Okay, you want me to start?
Sure.
I'm Keith Patterson at 335 Culver Street, Windjammer of Saugatuck Condo Association. I'm also the president of the Windjammer Condo Association. And I will use the historic district guidelines for the city of Saugatuck in making the recommendations and line of questioning for this application.
And I'm Tim Straker, 333 Culver, also a board member for the Condo Association, and I will adhere to the historic district guidelines in my decision.
John Canarsa, I'm a co-owner of 333 Culver, and I will adhere to historic commission guidelines as well.
Great. So I guess I'll give the overview. Anything else I need to do?
No, and just, none of you are going to be acting with any favoritism or bias in this matter, correct? I mean, that's
Correct.
all right.
Correct.
Okay. This is pretty straightforward. I think Windjammer is a non-contributing structure. There was a previous application to redo all the siding, which was approved, and the decks, siding, decks, railings, garages, garage doors. So that work is underway. This application is for 2 units, the unit that belongs to John and I, and the unit that is below us, 331. And we pointed out in the photos which windows, sliding doors, and entry doors are being replaced. This building's not that old, so these windows are still available in their exact spec. So there's literally no change other than it being new windows and doors. And the cut sheets are in the application. For 333, it's the 4 window, or the 2 windows and the sliding door and the front door. For 331, it's a sliding door, front door, and the water side sliding doors. So I will go around the table. I'll exclude us. Garn, any questions?
Yeah, just for consistency's sake, all of our other reviewed applications had the cover sheet, and I was curious why we didn't have that for this one, which kind of made my hairs on the back of my neck stand up because I'm big into consistency. So I was curious about that.
Good
Yeah,
question.
nope. So great question. So we have an application deadline of essentially 3 weeks out, at least staff does, in order to review an application and prepare a report for the next meeting, but the Historic District Commission's rules of procedure allow an applicant to submit an application a week before.
Okay.
So they met that deadline. We had a similar circumstance during the last meeting as well. So because they met that deadline, I've explained to applicants that you're submitting it at your own risk. Staff isn't able to provide an evaluation or feedback, that if you're missing something, if there's issues that the Historic District Commission finds that that risk is on them. I think it is incumbent upon the Historic District Commission to have a broader discussion on maybe what that looks like as far as your rules of procedure and whether or not you wish to make any changes to require maybe a different deadline or something along those lines.
Good call out and a good point, because also it sounds like our April meeting, we don't have quorum for our April meeting, so
Okay.
we hurried to get this in for this meeting, knowing it may not make the next, or it may not.
I ask primarily because I think we're all aware of some eagle eyes. And I don't want this board to get themselves in a position where we're looking like we're being favorable because of, almost a majority of the board members that
Fair.
affects them. So
Fair comment.
I really want us to be careful, just as the city council rep now with my city council
Yep.
hat on. I know having a quorum is really important, but I think consistency would be really good just as a CYA.
Sure.
That's my advice.
Okay,
So
we go to Dan.
No questions? Straightforward.
Well, questions looks pretty good, right?
Keith, since it's not your units, or any question? You want to question each other?
Did you ask her?
Yeah, she started.
Oh, okay.
I don't know that there's any issue with tabling it to get the proper cover sheet to come back.
I would feel really good.
Okay. Okay, we can do that, even if it's not April.
Can that be administrative?
I don't think it can be administrative since it's windows and doors.
The timing issues. I know everything's a timing issue.
It may
I'm
not,
sorry, I hate
no,
to
no,
stick with
they
us.
may not be in by then anyway, so. Again, we're just trying to do it well ahead of time.
Sure. So let me ask a question, just generally in its discussion. Could we, hypothetically, could we move to approve with the condition that a cover sheet be submitted with the details and the review of the consultant? Does that make sense? Could we do that?
Yeah, I think the whole idea behind the staff's review and cover sheet is simply to provide a staff analysis just for board consideration. Board members can throw it out, they consider the elements that are in there. It's used to actually help you make your decision. So if that's the intent with it, it wouldn't have that same effect if it was kind of completed after the fact.
I could argue everything you just said is a reason to have it, so that the non-owner commissioners have the benefit of seeing our planning consultants' feedback. Or if anyone's looking at the application online, they have the benefit of consistency of understanding what the planning consultant said. I mean, to the point of the earlier application tonight, where the planning consultant sort of called out modern architecture not being, if anyone read that, and someone certainly did, they could walk away if they didn't attend this meeting feeling a certain way based on what that planning consultant said. So I think I'm reinforcing your need to have that as part of it. Now, I'll let you guys decide if that can be a staff approved thing once it's like done retroactively, or if we just need to wait till another meeting.
I'm in favor of doing it retroactively.
Okay,
I'd second that, I agree.
How would you frame that?
yeah.
I guess if the intent is that if we have our planning consultant conduct his review, and if he raises any concerns, that it be brought back. If he's kind of, hey, I'm not quite sure that this does meet this particular standard or doesn't. I mean, obviously, again, we're just offering an opinion. Ultimately, it's up to the Historic District Commission to, make your ultimate decision, just like you did earlier tonight.
So if we make a motion to approve as submitted with the condition that the planning consultant reviews, writes an overview, and if there's any uncertainty or just, discrepancy between what's being asked for and what the planning consultant would provide as an overview for us, that we would need to resubmit.
With the sheet cover.
Hmm?
With a cover sheet.
With a cover sheet, well, we need to resubmit and with a cover sheet and then talk through whatever that discrepancy might be. So to Garn's point, if that cover sheet was here and somebody looked at it, you could look at it and go, well, gosh, the planning consultant is saying A, B, and C, but you guys are saying X, Y, and Z. Like, that's the purpose of that cover sheet. So, but if they come back and say, for a non-contributing structure for new construction guidelines, this matches, blah, blah, blah.
So let me ask you guys timing questions. So materials aren't even, how long will it take for the materials to get here? So we won't have a quorum in April. Sounds like that's the issue. If we're meeting right at the beginning of May, is that still holding you up?
They have to be ordered and they were yesterday. It's not too late to cancel an order, but it doesn't really make sense to cancel it. It's the same, luckily, it's the same window company, same window.
Yeah.
Like Tim said, they still make it. It's a color that was popular years ago called Terratone, and they still make it. So, so we thought it would be okay to order them. They won't be here for 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay. The likelihood that we would turn it down would
It's pretty slim.
exactly. I'm just really.
Well, that risk would be on us.
Yeah, that risk would be on us, I guess.
We confirm, I mean, this, that we might, I know, Shalio and you two are not available next month, correct?
Well, yeah, we're not.
Right.
Theo's not. Somebody else wasn't. I thought.
Are the rest of you available next month?
I'm here.
I'll be in Pensacola.
Okay,
on
well,
the
there we go.
phone. Could you call a special meeting?
Good, sure. Happy to do that.
And it might be helpful, depending on what kind of applications come in over the next,
Yeah.
couple weeks, to have a special meeting date that might work if we need it. I mean, obviously, if you table this, you would need it, but perhaps whenever might work for you next month, but
Okay,
just on standby in
how
general.
about
but-
we make a motion to table then?
Move to table the application as submitted.
Okay. Second.
From a staff standpoint, I would clarify, like, when you're tabling it to, are you tabling it to a specific, a date certain, or?
Usually you have to bring it up at the next meeting. That's according to Robert's rules. It has to come up at the next meeting. So the second step would probably be to schedule a meeting where you have a quorum.
So the next meeting could be the regularly scheduled meeting or the next meeting that we schedule.
Exactly. Yes, that's the way I understand it. Do you understand that, RC? It has to be the next meeting. Regardless if it's special or just regular.
Is that gonna hold you up?
Okay,
No, it's our issue, so it's okay.
so literally, so now, oh, well, I'll stop. I won't say anything. We can take your vote and then we can have
Yeah.
a discussion about how you want to do this.
All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes, opposed? Okay,
But literally, if this were the only thing on the agenda for a special meeting, you could call it, next Thursday at 6 o'clock and be done in 5 minutes. Is that correct?
I don't know how long
Looking
the
at Ryan.
planning consultant needs. on
Yeah,
that.
he's gone until the 9th.
Oh, of April.
Yeah,
So, well, that would have been an issue anyway.
Wait,
Okay.
no, not April, March.
Oh, I was
Oh.
gonna say, because he wouldn't
She was
have any
saying-
other cover sheets.
No,
for the
you mean
next
a week
meeting.
after your next meeting, or are you saying a week?
No, I'm just saying whenever, when I'm trying to get us to.
I see what you're
to
saying.
Get this done sooner rather
Right.
than later. So if it's, next Thursday, I'm just throwing out an
Yeah,
example,
gotcha.
next Thursday at 6 o'clock. You know, if this is the only thing that's on the special meeting, it'll take us like 5 minutes.
I think it would need to be, let's call it 2 weeks from tonight, because if
Okay.
he's gone to March 9th,
Mhm.
Yeah, we could put you on before the planning commission meeting on the 16th.
I'm here.
that work? Is that, no,
Well,
not for you, Dan?
What?
Okay.
Uh-oh.
I'm good.
Keith,
traveling most of the month.
Garn,
We'll work it out if that's
Keith,
the case.
John.
What you
me.
got going on?
The board of review has some meetings in here too, up until that
Good.
time, so.
We'd be
Do they
good.
go into the evening that night?
Mhm. Yeah, Board of Review meets on the 16th and they have in the notes from 2 to 7 upstairs and then 7 to 9 downstairs, which I don't know where they're planning on meeting downstairs.
Yeah,
Okay.
hardly anybody shows up. yeah.
Right, yeah. So
Could we
you
crowd
had your normal time,
for 6 o'clock?
It's fine with me.
you had your normal time of 6 o'clock.
Sure. Whatever works for you guys. This is,
That way you get it done. It's not holding
Appreciate
you
that.
up.
thanks.
Yeah, I mean. But
Will you
yeah,
already be here, Garn?
I'll be here.
Yeah, okay.
If not, I would smack my.
16th at 6 o'clock downstairs.
Will be you, Dan?
Dan won't be here and we'll ask Nico, I'll send Nico a note.
So March.
I'll send him if he's available. But we have a quorum, that's.
Yeah, I was gonna say you have a forum anyways. That's sure.
I think it doesn't have to be your special meeting, although sooner the better. I probably will bring to your, at a future meeting, your rules of procedure to at least discuss whether or not you want to make a change, because I don't really have any discretion as staff. If your procedures say that I have to bring an application to you, that's what I'm required to do. But if there's the wish to make sure that there's a staff report in there, there's certain timelines that we just gotta.
It's a really good point because my recollection was it's always been 2 weeks and I remember we had a conversation that like by the time someone realizes there's a meeting and then they only really have 2 weeks before the next one to get their application and that it was not long enough, like we needed to shrink the time a little bit.
Mm.
But I know at one point Cindy said she needed more time to prepare the packets, which is maybe why it went back. I don't know, but I didn't know it was 3 weeks.
But didn't we used to have handwritten ones once in a while? We never had, the sheets are kind of new, aren't they?
We've always, no.
No, we've always
had
had
these
it.
Weren't there?
As long as I've been
exceptions, though? I
involved.
thought there were exceptions. No?
Mm-mm.
As long as I can remember.
Well, just to pause this for a second. I
Mhm.
mean, what's the problem, and not to deliberate too much, but the only reason we're doing this is because we won't have a quorum on the 9th of April. Otherwise, you'll always have that time in there, the month, right? It's just this next meeting.
No, I guess, yeah, you're totally right. It's not, for me, it's nothing to do with the special meeting. It's the fact that any applicant,
Mhm,
they can see the deadlines and all that good stuff.
right.
But I think it's not unrealistic to go, yikes, like I know that meeting was happening April, whatever.
Mhm.
But I didn't realize it was 3 weeks and I can't miss another month to get to that meeting. So I guess what I'm saying is I wish that time could be shorter
Mm,
for the application.
oh, okay. So,
But I don't have awareness of what the staff burden is to create the packets.
well, we have a new planning and zoning person, so
Yeah.
he can tell us. what he
Yeah, we
did.
can continue to, we'll think through it some more and have some further, and definitely at the very least, want to have a discussion with the full commission because your dead set rule that's in your procedure state that if they bring it in a week ahead of your meeting, I have to include it. So that I don't think is a reasonable time frame for us to, because we're sending your packet out a week ahead of time,
Right.
so that would mean that we don't have any, which is
Right.
why you didn't get a report, on this
Right.
one too. There just wasn't time to
Mhm.
pull together that evaluation in time, so. But
Okay. That sounds good. Administrative approvals and updates for 28 Butler. Pretty straightforward. It's like as replacement.
just to cover, yeah, no, nothing in the structure was actually changing, it was just the, similar fabric material. Yep.
Any communication that we didn't hit? No more public to comment? Any other commissioner comments? All right, having a motion to approve? Second? All in favor, signify by saying yes.
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 All right.
Thank you all. Appreciate
See
your
you
time
on the
tonight.
16th.
Thank you.